The desert wind blew across the alien marketplace, carrying dust and the smell of burning fuel. The sky above was pale and gray, filled with clouds that never gave rain. In the middle of this busy place walked a single mother, her skin a soft blue, her clothes old and torn. In her arms she held a small baby wrapped in rough cloth. The baby was hungry, and its weak cries echoed between the metal stalls, but no one stopped to help. The mother went from shop to shop. Her voice was quiet but desperate. "Please, I can work, I only need food for my child," she said again and again. But the alien merchants turned away. Some looked at her with disgust, others with pity. Many said the same cruel words. "You are weak. You are slow. We don't need you." At one food stall, she begged the owner. He was a thick-skinned alien with red eyes and long tusks. He crossed his arms and laughed. "Work? You can't even lift a barrel. Get out before you scare my customers." The mother bowed her head and left. Her baby whimpered, pressing its tiny face into her shoulder. The marketplace was alive with sounds, clattering tools, shouting voices, the hiss of steam engines. But for her, it all sounded distant. She felt invisible, unwanted. Each rejection cut her deeper. She remembered the home she once had, long before war destroyed her people. She remembered her mate, who never returned from the mines. Now she stood alone, a widow with nothing but her child. Her stomach growled with hunger, but she kept walking. She would not eat until her baby ate first. She tried another shop, then another. Her hands shook as she held the child tighter. "Please, I will clean, I will carry, I will do anything," she whispered. But the answer was always the same: no. Children from other species pointed at her, whispering jokes. Some threw small stones at her feet. Their parents did nothing to stop them. To them, she was already broken, a beggar who did not belong. The baby cried louder, and she rocked it gently, whispering, "Don't cry, little one. I am here." Hours passed. The twin suns above sank lower, painting the marketplace in long shadows. The mother's legs grew weak. She stumbled near the steps of a rusty building. Her knees hit the ground. She held her child close, rocking back and forth. Her eyes stung with tears, but she refused to let them fall. A group of merchants passed by and laughed. "Still begging? Go back to the dust where you belong," one sneered. Another added, "No one will hire a single mother. She is a burden. Her baby is a curse." Their cruel voices burned into her heart. She looked at her baby and whispered, "You are not a curse, you are my life." The evening grew colder. The smell of food from nearby stalls filled the air. Her child whimpered again, too weak to cry loudly. She tried to hush it, pressing her lips to its head. Her arms ached. Her body was tired, but she did not let go. She would never let go. The crowd moved around her, busy and careless. To them, she was nothing more than a shadow. But inside her heart, a flame still burned, small but alive. She had suffered too much to give up now. Her eyes scanned the streets one last time, searching for even the smallest chance. A spark of kindness in the endless cruelty. The marketplace lights flickered on, glowing weakly against the darkening sky. The mother pulled her cloak tighter around her baby. The wind howled through the broken buildings. Sand stung her face. Still she stood. Her legs shook, but she lifted herself from the ground. With slow steps she moved forward again. She would not give up, she would not stop. Every breath she took was for her child. Every tear she swallowed was for her child, she whispered. "I will find a way. I will find someone. For you, I will never stop." And then, just as her strength was fading, she saw a shadow at the far end of the street. It was tall, broad, and unlike the others, a figure walking against the wind, moving with calm steps. The crowd parted slowly, not with respect, but with fear, for it was no alien, it was a human. The mother's heart trembled. She had heard stories of humans, fierce, stubborn, dangerous. Some said they were monsters, others said they were saviors. She did not know which was true, but at that moment, With her child crying in her arms, she whispered a final prayer. Please, let this be my chance. The wind grew stronger as the tall figure walked through the marketplace. Sand swirled around his boots. Dust clung to his long coat. And yet he walked as if the storm itself feared him. His face was partly hidden under a hood, but his eyes, sharp and unblinking, scanned everything with calm, steady focus. Every step echoed with quiet strength. The aliens moved aside, not because they wished to, but because something about him made them uneasy. They whispered, in hushed tones, "A human here, what does he want?" Some shook their heads, others spat on the ground. Fear and curiosity mixed in their voices. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy, too stubborn to follow alien rules, too proud to bow. Many said humans were reckless wanderers, willing to fight for scraps, willing to bleed for strangers. Some said humans carried fire in their hearts that never died. Others called them troublemakers, dangerous to trust. The mother, still holding her baby close, felt her breath catch. She had never seen a human with her own eyes. Only stories, only warnings. Yet now, one walked before her, and the crowd bent away like grass before the storm. Her heart raced. Was this danger, or salvation? The human's boot stopped only a few steps away from where she knelt. His shadow fell across her. The baby stirred, whimpering softly. The mother raised her head slowly. Her tired eyes met his. For a long moment, there was silence. He said nothing. She said nothing. The whole marketplace seemed to pause behind them. Cruel laughter broke the quiet. The same merchants who mocked her earlier sneered again. One shouted, "Look at this. Even the human will not waste his time on her." Another added, "She is nothing but dust clinging to a dying world." Their words were sharp, meant to cut. The human's gaze shifted. His eyes turned toward the voices, and for a heartbeat the laughter stopped. There was no anger in his face, only a calm that felt heavier than rage. He looked at them as if their cruelty was too small to matter. Then his eyes returned to the mother. He spoke, his voice low but steady. "You are looking for work." The mother blinked. Her lips trembled. She clutched, her baby closer, not trusting what she heard. Slowly she nodded, her voice cracked. "Yes, I can do anything, please. I only need food for my child." The human studied her. His eyes dropped to the baby wrapped in cloth, then rose back to the mother's face. He did not laugh. He did not insult. He only asked, "Can you follow instructions? Can you learn quickly?" Her heart pounded. No one had asked her that before. No one cared whether she could learn. They only saw weakness. But this stranger spoke differently. She swallowed hard and whispered, "Yes, I can learn. I will work hard," the merchants shouted from behind. "Don't hire her, human. She will slow you down. She will fail. She is nothing." Their voices dripped with hatred, but the human ignored them completely. He nodded once, short and final. "Good. Then you work for me now." The mother gasped. The baby shifted in her arms as if sensing something had changed. Her knees felt weak, not from hunger, but from sudden hope. "Work for you? But why? No one else." She stopped, afraid of her own words. The human adjusted the strap of his pack and turned toward the dusty road leading away from the marketplace. He did not answer right away. Only after a few steps did he speak. His voice calm, almost quiet. "Because everyone deserves a chance, even those the world throws away." The words struck her like light breaking through clouds. She looked at the baby, then at his back as he walked away. For a moment she hesitated. Was this real? Or was it another cruel trick? The merchants were already laughing again, shouting, "Go on, follow him. See how long before he leaves you too." But the mother no longer listened. She rose, holding her baby tightly against her chest. Her legs trembled, but she followed. Each step felt like stepping into the unknown. Fear twisted in her stomach, but hope pushed her forward. The crowd watched in silence as the strange pair left the marketplace, a tired alien mother with nothing but her child, and a lone human whose presence unsettled everyone. Whispers filled the air. Some said she was a fool to trust him, others said she would not last a day. The marketplace lights faded behind them. The desert stretched ahead, wide and endless. The mother's cloak flapped in the wind. Her baby's small hand reached out from the cloth, brushing the air as if reaching for the path ahead. The human walked with steady steps, never looking back. He did not offer promises. He did not speak of kindness. Yet his silence carried something stronger than words. A strange certainty that made her believe she had chosen correctly. Her heart still feared what tomorrow might bring. But for the first time in many cycles, it also carried hope. She whispered to her baby, her voice shaking yet full of warmth. "We are not alone anymore." Far behind, the merchants whispered of revenge, plotting in dark corners. The mother did not know yet. The human did not care, but fate was already moving and their journey together had only begun. The desert stretched for miles as the mother followed the human. Her feet sank into the sand, her arms heavy from carrying her child. Yet she kept moving, because the man in front of her did not stop. He walked with a steady pace, strong and sure, as if he knew exactly where he was going. After some time, a small structure appeared ahead, half buried in sand, made of metal and stone. It looked like an old repair station. Its walls were scarred with burn marks, and strange machines rested outside, silent and broken. The human pushed open the heavy door and the mother stepped inside. The air smelled of oil and smoke. Tools hung on the walls. Wires dangled from the ceiling. There were broken machines piled in corners, parts of engines, scraps of metal and shattered circuits. This place was no palace, no safe haven, but it was more shelter than she had seen in months. The human set down his pack and finally turned to her. "This is my workshop," he said in his low voice. His eyes met hers, calm but firm. "If you want to work, this is where you begin." The mother held her baby tighter. She nodded quickly, her voice uncertain. I will do anything, please, just give me a chance." The man pointed to a pile of broken metal parts. "Then start there. Sort the pieces, good from bad. Tools here, scraps there." He spoke simply, but there was no doubt in his tone. He expected her to work, not as a favor, but as a duty. Her heart pounded. She had begged for work so long. Now it was here before her. She set her baby down gently on a folded cloth in the corner, kissing its head. Then she turned to the pile and began. At first, her hands shook. The pieces were heavy. Sharp and covered in dust, she cut her palm on a jagged edge and hissed softly. Her first thought was to stop, to cry, to say she could not do it. But then she looked at her child, so small and fragile, and she whispered to herself, "I must not fail." Hour after hour she worked. Her arms ached, her back bent, but slowly the pile began to shrink. She learned to see the difference between useful parts and useless trash. Her movements grew steadier, sharper, faster. The human watched quietly, not helping, not mocking, only watching, measuring her strength. Finally, she collapsed to her knees, breathing hard. Sweat dripped from her brow. Dust coated her hands. She looked up at him, afraid he would say it was not enough, but the man gave a small nod. "Better than I expected," he said. His voice was calm, but there was a hint of respect. "You learn quickly." Her chest filled with a strange warmth. It had been so long since anyone praised her. She bowed her head, whispering, "Thank you, I will work harder tomorrow." But before she could catch her breath, the door to the workshop slammed open. A group of aliens stepped inside, the same merchants from the marketplace. Their eyes burned, with anger, their voices sharp and cruel. "We warned you, human," one snarled. "She is worthless. She will only drag you down." Another spat on the floor. "She does not belong here. Throw her out before she ruins your work." The mother froze. Her heart sank. She had just begun, and already they wanted her gone. She held her baby close, whispering, "Please, not again, not this time." But the human did not move. He stood tall, his shadow long against the flickering workshop lights. His voice cut through their shouting like a blade. "She stays?" The aliens laughed, mocking him. "You are a fool, human. A weak mother and a crying child will not save your station. They will destroy it." The man's eyes narrowed. He stepped forward, his presence heavy. "You see weakness," he said, "but I see strength you will never understand." The merchants, sneered. Some muttered threats under their breath before storming out. The door slammed shut behind them. The workshop fell silent again. The mother's hands shook. She looked at the human in disbelief. Why? Why would you defend me? You don't even know me. Her voice cracked with confusion. The human turned back to his tools, adjusting a broken engine. His words were simple, but they carried weight. Because no one gave me a chance once. I won't make the same mistake. The mother held her baby tightly, her heart a storm of fear and hope. She had been given work. She had been defended. She had been seen. For the first time in years, she whispered, not in despair, but in quiet determination, I will not fail. The night grew darker outside. The wind howled through the desert, but inside the broken station a spark had been lit, a spark of trust, fragile yet powerful. What the mother did not know was that her real test had only just begun. The merchant's hatred was not gone. It was waiting, growing, and soon she would be forced to prove not only her strength, but her courage. The morning sun crept across the desert sky, painting the world in golden shadow. Inside the human's workshop, the alien mother rose from a rough blanket. Her body ached from yesterday's labor, her hands swollen and sore, but she did not complain. She kissed her baby's forehead, whispering, today will be better, and then turned toward the pile of work waiting for her. The human was already awake, sharpening a tool with slow, careful strokes. His eyes lifted when he saw her. He said nothing, but his gaze held quiet. Approval. He pointed toward the corner where an old engine sat covered in dust. Clean it, open it, remove what is broken, he said. His tone was simple yet firm. The mother nodded. She pulled her sleeves back and got to work. The engine was heavy. Its bolts rusted tight. Her hands slipped. Grease smeared across her arms. Still, she did not stop. Her muscles burned. Her breath came in short gasps, but she remembered her child's small face. She remembered the human's words. Everyone deserves a chance. And she forced herself forward. Hours passed. The sound of tools clinking filled the air. The baby whimpered now and then, and she paused only long enough to rock it gently before returning to her task. She cut her finger on a sharp edge, but she wrapped it quickly with cloth and kept going. Her willpower burned brighter than her pain. The human moved around the shop. Working on other machines, he did not hover over her, but she felt his presence always near. At times his eyes rested on her, as if measuring her determination. He said nothing, but his silence was not cold. It was trust. By midday, her arms shook from exhaustion. The engine lay open before her. She had sorted the broken wires, the cracked gears, the bent plates. She had done more than she thought possible. She looked up at him, her chest rising and falling. Her voice broke. I finished. The human stepped closer. His eyes scanned the work. He picked up a piece, turning it in his hand. Slowly he nodded. Better than most, he said. It was only a few words, but to her, it was like water to the thirsty. For the first time in years, someone recognized her worth, but before she could feel relief, the workshop door slammed open. Dust swirled in with the wind. The merchants from the market had returned. Their eyes glared with fury. Their voices hissed with venom. We warned you, human, one growled. She does not belong. Look at her, weak, filthy, wasting your time, another spat. Throw her out or you will regret it. The mother froze. Her baby stirred in its blanket. She pulled it close, fear gripping her chest. She had worked so hard and still they wanted to crush her, but the human did not waver. He stepped between them and the mother. His voice was calm, steady. She stays, the merchants laughed bitterly. Foolish human, do you think she will save you? She will break before real work. She will fall before real danger. Their words stung, sharp as knives. The human did not look at them. Instead, he turned to the mother. His eyes locked on hers. Show them, he said. His words were quiet, but they struck like thunder. Her heart pounded. She knew what he meant. This was not only about machines, it was about proving herself, proving she was more than the cruel names they gave her. She rose slowly, her hands trembling, her baby in one arm. She faced the merchants with fire in her eyes. She walked to the engine she had opened. She lifted a heavy gear with both hands. Her arms shook, but she held it high. "I am not weak," she whispered. "I will not give up," the merchant sneered. "It's only one day. You will fail tomorrow. You will always fail." But something in her gaze made even their voices falter. The human stepped forward then, his voice sharp. "Leave. Your words are useless here." His stance was solid, unshaken. The merchants muttered curses, but they backed away, slamming the door behind them. Silence filled the shop once more. The mother's chest heaved with heavy breaths. She set the gear down. Her arms shaking, she looked at the human. "Why? Why do you trust me?" The man wiped grease from his hands, his voice calm, almost soft. "Because strength is not in muscle. Strength is in not giving up." Her eyes filled with tears, not of pain, but of pride. She looked at her baby, who blinked up at her with innocent eyes. For the first time, she believed she could protect it, not with begging, but with her own hands. That night, as the stars spread across the desert sky, she lay beside her child in the corner of the workshop. Her body hurt, but her heart glowed with new fire. She whispered, "We will survive, little one. We will fight and we will rise." The human worked late into the night, fixing broken circuits. His shadow moved across the walls, strong and steady. The mother closed her eyes, holding her child, close. But outside, beyond the walls, the merchants plotted. Their anger had not faded. They whispered of revenge, of fire and ruin. And soon, the test of her strength would grow far greater than she could imagine. The desert night was quiet, but inside the human's workshop the silence was heavier. The mother sat near her baby, rocking it gently, her body still sore from the long day, but her mind restless. She could not stop hearing the merchants' cruel voices echoing. "She will fail. She does not belong." The human worked at his bench, sparks flying as he welded a broken piece of metal, his face calm, his movements steady. Yet he too knew the storm was not over. Trouble would come. He had seen that kind of hatred before. Morning came quickly. The sun poured light into the workshop. The mother rose, ready to face another day. She cleaned, she sorted, she learned. Her hands no longer trembled as they once did. She moved with focus, each action stronger than before. The baby cooed softly from its blanket, as if proud of her, but the peace did not last. The door burst, open with a violent slam. A group of aliens stormed inside, larger in number than before. Their eyes burned with fury. Their voices filled the air like fire. One merchant shouted, "Enough! We warned you, human. Throw her out now or face the price," another added. "She is nothing and you are a fool for wasting your time on her." Their words dripped with venom. The mother froze. Her hands tightened around a wrench. Her baby whimpered at the sudden noise. Fear crawled up her spine, but when she looked at the human, he was calm. He set down his tool slowly, then stood. His presence filled the room like a shield. "She stays," he said firmly. His voice cut through, the shouting simple but unshakable. The merchants laughed bitterly. "You defend her? A weak mother with a child? She will bring ruin on you. She is already a curse." The mother felt her chest tighten. Her eyes burned with shame and anger. She wanted to scream, but her voice caught. For so long she had been silent, letting others decide her fate. But now, she saw the human standing before her, strong and unyielding, and something inside her refused to stay quiet. "She is not weak," the human said again. "She works harder than any of you. She has strength you cannot see because your eyes are blind to it." The merchants hissed in rage. One stepped forward. Slamming his fist on a table, the metal shook. The baby cried loudly. The mother rushed to hold it close, whispering, "It's all right, little one. It's all right." The human stepped closer to the merchant, his eyes sharp. "If you want her gone, then you go through me." A heavy silence fell. The merchants stared at him, their anger clear, but so was their hesitation. No one wished to fight a human. Not here, not now. Still, their pride burned too hot. One spat on the ground. You will regret this, human. We will not forget. The group turned and stormed out, their footsteps heavy, their threats lingering in the air. The workshop door rattled as it closed behind them. The mother held her baby close. Her heart raced. "Why do you do this?" she whispered. "Why risk yourself for me?" The human looked at her, his face calm but his eyes carrying something deeper. "Because no one stood for me once, and I will not repeat that mistake." Her eyes filled with tears, but this time they were not of despair. They were of gratitude. For the first time, someone had chosen to stand by her, not out of pity but out of belief. She wiped her face quickly, whispering to her baby, "We are not alone anymore. We have someone who sees us." The day went on. She worked harder than ever, pouring her heart into every task. Each bolt she tightened, each scrap she sorted, was proof she belonged. The human gave small nods now and then, never many words, but enough to tell her he saw her effort. But outside the workshop, the merchants gathered in dark corners, their voices low but sharp. They whispered of revenge, of making the human pay, of breaking the mother until she vanished into the dust. That night, as the stars filled the sky, the mother lay beside her baby. She could not sleep. Her ears caught every sound, every shift of the desert wind. In her heart she knew, the clash was not over. Today was only the beginning. The true storm was yet to come. She turned her head and looked at the human still working at his bench. Sparks flickered in the darkness as he repaired another machine. His face lit with firelight, his expression calm but unyielding. She felt something in her heart she had not felt in years. Hope, but with that hope came fear, for she knew the merchants would not stop. They had been shamed, and pride was a dangerous enemy. They would return, and next time, words would not be their only weapons. The mother pressed her lips to her child's forehead, whispering, "Whatever comes, I will protect you, I will fight." Her voice shook, but her resolve was strong, and in the silence of the desert night, fate sharpened its blade, preparing for the battle that neither the mother nor the human could yet see. The desert night was cold. The winds howled through the broken streets, carrying whispers of anger and revenge. Inside the workshop, the mother lay beside her baby, wrapped in a blanket of rough cloth. Her body was tired, but her mind refused to rest. She could not forget the merchants' threats, their hateful eyes, their bitter voices. The human worked late, as always. Sparks flashed from his bench as he welded another piece of metal, his face calm, his hands steady. Yet even he knew that peace was fragile. His ears caught the faintest shift of sound outside, the crunch of sand beneath heavy boots, the low murmur of voices hidden in the dark. The mother stirred, her eyes opening. She sat up, clutching her baby close. "Do you hear it?" she whispered. The human raised his head slowly, his eyes narrowing. He set down his tool and walked to the door. His hand rested on the handle, waiting, listening. The silence outside thickened. Then, suddenly, it broke. A blaze erupted against the side of the workshop. Flames roared, smoke filled the air. The mother gasped, pulling her baby close. The child cried in fear. The human moved quickly, grabbing a heavy blanket and beating at the fire, his voice sharp. "Water! Bring water!" The mother rushed to, a barrel in the corner, scooping water into a cracked bucket. Her hands shook as she poured it over the flames. Steam hissed, smoke choked the air. Together they fought the fire, coughing, their eyes stinging. The merchant's revenge had begun. Outside, shadows moved in the dark. The merchant stood at a distance, watching with cruel satisfaction. One hissed, "Let it burn. Let them choke. This is what happens to those who defy us." But the flames did not consume the workshop, because inside, two hearts refused to surrender. The mother's arms ached, but she did not stop. She poured water again and again, shielding her baby from the smoke with her cloak. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "Stay strong, little one, stay with me." The human worked beside her, his strength unyielding. His eyes burned with fire, not fear but fury. At last, the flames began to fade. Smoke curled upward, leaving black scars across the walls. The workshop stood damaged but not destroyed. The mother collapsed to her knees, clutching her child. The baby whimpered softly, still alive, still safe. Her chest heaved with heavy breaths, tears mixing with soot on her face. The human stood, tall, his eyes scanning the darkness outside. He saw the faint movement of shadows fleeing into the night. He did not chase them. Not yet. Instead, he turned back, his voice steady. They wanted to break us, but they failed. The mother looked up at him, her voice shaking. They will come again. She hugged her child tighter. They won't stop until we are gone. The human crouched beside her, his gaze strong, his words calm. Then we will not run, we will stand, we will fight if we must. Something shifted inside her heart. She had lived her life begging for mercy, hiding from cruelty. But now, as she looked at the human, she felt a fire she had never known. She was not only surviving anymore, she was resisting. She was protecting. She rose to her feet, her hands blackened with soot, her clothes torn. She looked at the burned walls and the broken machines. We will fix this, she said softly. Her voice was quiet but full of determination. The human nodded once. Yes, we will. Through the night, they worked together, clearing the burned debris, repairing what they could. The baby slept soundly, wrapped safely away from the smoke. The mother's body screamed with exhaustion, but her spirit would not break. Each bolt tightened, each piece lifted, was proof of her will, proof of her strength as dawn approached. The workshop stood battered but alive. The scars of fire still marked its walls, but inside, the bond between human and mother had grown stronger. They had faced destruction together, and together they had endured. The merchants returned at sunrise, expecting to see ruins. But when they saw the workshop still standing, their eyes widened with fury. They hissed in anger. Impossible! How did they survive? From the doorway the human stood. His coat burned at the edges, soot on his face, his eyes cold as steel. Behind him the mother appeared, her baby in her arms, her face weary but unbroken. Her gaze met theirs with fire. You tried to burn us, the human said, his voice calm. But flames only test what is strong enough to endure. The merchants snarled, their pride wounded. They turned away, but their whispers were sharp. This is not the end. We will crush them, one way or another. The mother held her baby close, her heart racing. She knew the fight was far from over, but she also knew something else. She was no longer the woman who begged on the streets. She was stronger now. She had faced fire and had not been destroyed. That night, as the stars filled the sky once more, the mother sat outside the workshop, the cool desert wind brushing her face. She looked at her sleeping child and whispered, "We survived, and we will keep surviving, no matter what they bring," and somewhere deep inside she believed it, because now she was no longer alone. She had found an ally, a protector, a teacher, and perhaps, just perhaps, a future. But in the darkness beyond the sands, revenge was still waiting, sharpening its claws, and soon, the true battle for survival would begin. The desert morning was quiet after the fire. Smoke no longer rose from the workshop, but black scars still marked its walls. The mother stood outside with her baby in her arms. Her eyes followed the horizon. Where the twin suns rose, she felt tired. Yes, but there was something new inside her, a strength she had never known. The human walked past her, carrying a heavy piece of metal on his shoulder. His steps were steady, his face calm. He placed the piece down near the broken wall and looked at her. "It can be rebuilt," he said. His voice was simple yet filled with certainty. The mother nodded. "Yes," she whispered. Her voice carried no fear now, only determination. For so long she had begged for a place, any place. Now she had one, and she would not let it be taken. The day began with hard work. The human fixed what was broken, welding and hammering. The mother cleaned the floor, sorted tools, and carried scraps out into the sun. Her baby watched from the blanket in the corner, cooing softly as if cheering for her. The hours were long, but the work was not despair. It was hope. Strangers began to notice. A few aliens who passed the workshop paused. They had seen her begging in the market before, weak and hopeless. But now they saw her working with steady hands beside a human, her face smudged with soot, her eyes sharp with resolve. She was no longer invisible. By evening, the merchants returned again. Their eyes burned with anger. They expected fear, but they found none. The human stood tall at the doorway. The mother stood beside him, her baby in her arms, her back straight, her gaze strong. You cannot win, one merchant spat. This world does not want her. She is nothing. And you are a fool. The human's voice was calm, but it struck like thunder. She is not nothing. She is a worker, a fighter, a mother. She is worth more than all your hatred. The mother felt her chest tighten, not with fear, but with pride. For years she had listened to cruelty, to voices telling her she was worthless. But now she heard something different. Truth, spoken not by herself, but by someone who believed in her. The merchants hissed and turned away, their defeat bitter. They could not understand. They could not crush what refused to break. They left with curses on their tongues, but their power was fading. The workshop grew quiet again. The mother looked at the human, her voice soft. Why do you keep fighting? For me? The human adjusted his tools, his face unreadable. Because you fight for yourself, he said. That is enough. Her eyes filled with tears, not of weakness, but of strength. She looked at her baby, who smiled in her arms, and for the first time in so long she felt hope for tomorrow, not just survival, but something greater. Days turned into weeks. The workshop grew stronger, repaired piece by piece. The mother learned quickly how to handle tools, how to clean engines, how to build from scraps. Her hands grew rough, her back stronger. Each day she carried not only machines, but her own dignity. Soon whispers spread through the market. Some still mocked her, but others began to respect her. The mother who works with the human, they said. She is not weak anymore. A few even brought small tasks to the workshop, curious to see if she could manage, and she did. Her child grew healthier, fed and safe. Its laughter filled the workshop, breaking the silence that once felt so heavy. For every smile, the mother worked harder. For every cry, she grew stronger. Her life was no longer only about surviving. She was building something new. One evening, as the sun set in fire-red light, the human stood outside, staring at the horizon. The mother stepped beside him, her baby in her arms. She followed his gaze. Do you ever regret staying? She asked softly. The human's eyes narrowed, his voice low. No. The galaxy is full of those who think strength is only in power, but real strength is here, in those who keep going, no matter what. He looked at her, his words steady. And you are strong. Her heart trembled, not with fear but with gratitude. She whispered, Thank you. That night she lay beside her child, staring at the stars through the cracks in the roof. She thought of the path behind her, the endless rejections, the cruel laughter, the fire meant to destroy her. And then she thought of the path ahead, brighter now, filled with possibility. She pressed her lips to her baby's forehead and whispered, We have a home now. We have hope. And I promise, I will never let anyone take it from us. Outside, the desert winds howled, carrying away the last smoke of the past. The workshop stood firm, scarred but alive. Inside, a bond had formed, stronger than steel. A human and an alien mother, bound, not by blood but by trust. Her journey was far from over, but it was no longer a journey of despair. It was a journey of strength, of survival, of new beginnings. And though the galaxy still whispered against her, she would rise above it. For her child, for herself, for the chance given to her. From a mother nobody wanted, she had become a mother everyone would remember. And her story had only just begun.